All right, guys. I want to talk a little bit about RuneScape 3 and how it relates to old school RuneScape, and sort of clear some air about this game a little bit, because I had never played RuneScape 3 until a few days ago, and I really expected. I guess I don't know what I expected. I kind of thought that it must be this terrible, broken, super not fun to play, nothing like regular RuneScape game, and I thought that it was going to be something that I just absolutely wouldn't like. And my experience over the past few days playing it, over the past 15 or so hours that I've played so far, couldn't be further from what my initial thoughts were about it. I I am dramatically surprised by the amount of things that this game has to offer somebody who really loves playing old school RuneScape, and who has not paid any attention to the development cycle of this game over the years. I had some misgivings with it the first time I ever tried RuneScape 3. Mainly the problem that I had with RuneScape 3 the first time I tried it was that when I first came off Tutorial Island, I ended up in Burthorpe. And not being in Lumbridge at the very beginning of my time playing was such a dramatic shift in what I thought RuneScape was supposed to be that I basically couldn't recover. And I had all of these things sort of flood me, and I had all of these new things that they wanted me to do and to try, and all these new sort of paths that they wanted me to go on, and it was very hand-holdy and wanted me to go do all these things. And I got overwhelmed, and I eventually said, you know what, this isn't RuneScape. I'm not going to play this. I'm going back to old school, and I logged out, and I didn't play any more of the game. And that is such a mistake that I made, and now I'm sort of coming back in order to try to fix that. One of the things that I want to talk about a little bit about this game that is different from old school, that I think is a huge improvement, is that mining is basically completely AFK. If you know anything about me and RuneScape, you know that mining is one of my least favorite skills to train. I don't think anything including falling or shooting stars actually are good for training mining AFK. It's just super super slow. In this game, you can sit here and you can just click every once in a while, and it refills your stamina bar so that you can mine the rock really really quickly. Or you can just let your stamina completely run out, and you go at a significantly reduced rate of picking, but it will continue to pick this same rock for as long as you want to, and you can get more and more XP that way. You can then take all of this ore and you can put it inside of an ore box like that, so you can have up to, let's check it so we can see how much it is, up to 120 iron ore inside of this ore box. A lot of the skills have been overhauled. Gee whiz, guys. A lot of the skills have been overhauled in ways that I didn't expect them to be. Mining is totally it has the roots of where it came from, but it is completely different in a whole lot of ways. Smithing is the same way. You smelt things at the furnace and you turn them into bars, and you can store all of your mats inside of the actual furnace now, including all of your bars once you make them, so you no longer have to run back and forth from the bank in order to do it. You then make projects here, and then you take them over to the anvil and you smith them, and then before they run out of heat, you have to go back and heat them back up or whatever. So there's like a lot of just different little mechanics built into the game that I didn't realize were going to be here before. There is a ton of new skill lines like necromancy, which I've been playing around with a lot, which has multiple facets that you can train it with. There's rituals that you can perform that give you different items that you need for necromancy, including a new type of rune essence that you use to create runes for necromancy, and then also gives you experience. Then you can also just use necromancy in combat in order to get your skill levels higher. A lot of people complain about combat in this game, and they all talk about like the evolution of combat and how terrible it is. But genuinely, combat now amounts to basically what it amounts to in old school RuneScape, and there's even legacy modes that you can put on to change that if that's really what you want. You can now fight things, and you can use what's called revolution mode, which revolution mode basically just uses your skills from left to right as they're available, and allows you to fight things without really paying too much attention. I don't have my weapon equipped. So you can use necromancy like this, and then your skill bars will just get used automatically, although these things are probably going to be too weak for me to actually be able to do anything. So, like, if you fight something, then you can, well, I'm just going to one-hit everything. It'll use your skills from left to right so that you don't actually have to click on any of your skills if you don't want to click on any of your skills, which I know is a big deal for a lot of people because they have all these issues with stuff like that, dude. Like, I think that what I've really realized from playing RuneScape 3, and I was dissuaded from playing RuneScape 3 for so long because of all the smack that people talk about it. One of the things that I've really realized about this game over my time playing it so far is that it's really not that much different from old school RuneScape at all. It has a lot more content involved in it because it's had a steady development over the past, 24 years because it's the exact same game. It's a through line of the game that we've played for all these years. Some of the cities have been redesigned, but they're not redesigned in a way that makes them feel unnatural. I'll go to Varrock now and we can walk around in Varrock a little bit and we'll sort of like show what that looks like. But one of the things that I've really noticed is that I think that most people are just making up reasons to not play this game. That there are microtransactions, obviously, but I'm playing an Iron Man, and the majority of people that I know play Iron Man anyways, and so the microtransactions won't even be an option for you to play if you're playing an Iron Man. The methods of going around and getting everything together in order to get new gear and to kit out your character are actually like really, really good and really, really enjoyable. Mining feels really fun to do. Smithing feels really fun to do now, and it breaks it up into these much bigger chunks instead of these really, really small ones. No more are you going around and mining out, a full inventory of iron and then running it to the bank and then going back and mining out a full inventory of iron and running it to the bank. You mine a full inventory, you put it in your box. You mine a full inventory, you put it in your box. So then you end up with a huge box full of iron, and then you take that and you smith all that into bars, and then you put all those bars into your material box, and then you go back and you do it all over again, and you can get as many as you want that way. And it's not quicker. It's probably about the same speed at the end of the day, or it's maybe a little bit quicker, but it's a bigger chunk of AFKing, so people who really like AFKing skills would probably really enjoy that. I haven't tried a lot of the skills like Slayer or Hunter, all those things, so I'll have to, as time goes on, sort of come back through and make more videos talking about this game and all the different things that are going on inside of it. But Varrock looks great. I mean, like, look at this, dude. Look at how nice this place looks. The castle looks really good. It's the same castle. It's the same layout. So much of the stuff is in the same place. I mean, the King Rold is literally in the exact same spot that he is in old school RuneScape. I think one of the big things that dissuades people is the fact, like I said, that you log into Berthorpe, and Berthorpe looks totally different than what you remember it looking. But other than that, the majority of the cities are very reminiscent of what they were in the past. Now, I will say, something that throws me off a lot in this game, and I end up getting lost in this game a lot, although it's getting better now, is that some of the landmarks that I've used to navigate in old school RuneScape are slightly moved around. Like going from Draenor to Lumbridge always gets me mixed up in which direction I'm going because I don't tend to look at the compass too much. So that's sort of an odd thing that I've noticed back and forth between all of this. Another thing that's really cool is that now, so home teleport, you unlock lodestones, which are these teleport points all over the world in each major city, and then you can just use home teleport all you want to teleport between them. It still has the exact same amount of time to cast as old school RuneScape's home teleport does, but you can do it without any cooldown whatsoever, so you can get around the world very easily from the get-go. So for somebody who's come from old school RuneScape, if you never had a RuneScape 3 account and you don't have your teleports unlocked yet, that sort of circumvents a lot of the issues that you have in old school RuneScape with getting around in the beginning, which, by the way, unlocking teleports in old school RuneScape was something that took me a while to do on this account. So, like, I was stuck walking back and forth my entire time doing free-to-play because I didn't have hardly any law runes or anything. So it's nice to have these straight from the get-go, even though I have membership on this account right from I'm not doing anything challenging on this. I'm literally just playing this game as an Iron Man and sort of experiencing what the world has for me, and I'm genuinely falling in love with it. One of the biggest changes that I've noticed, this is really cool actually, one of the biggest changes that I've noticed is the Wizard's Tower in this game. So let's just kind of like do a little walk up to the Wizard's Tower right now. So this is the Wizard's Tower. You guys have all seen the Wizard's Tower countless times. We've been here over and over again. But in RuneScape 3, it's much less like this old, decrepit set of rooms with a couple of NPCs standing by. And it's much more vibrant. And this is something that I think that RuneScape 3 has done on purpose, but feels kind of weird to me. RuneScape 3 feels really cluttered in comparison to old school RuneScape. There are things piled on top of things everywhere that you go, and this is one of the few. I don't know if it's a downside yet, okay? It feels like a downside to me currently, but it feels like walking around that it's just harder to click on things because there's so much stuff in the way, whereas old school RuneScape is sort of not barren feeling, but a much more minimalistic sort of design to the game. RuneScape 3 definitely feels maximalistic. There are things everywhere. There are quest markers on top of quest markers all over the place. I mean, look at all these quest markers, dude. Look at all of these right on top of each other right here. Now, this isn't a bad thing per se, but it is something to note that this is just kind of what feels like a design choice of old school RuneScape. That they said, let's add more everywhere. Let's put more things in to do. Let's have more methods of training each individual skill. Let's have more menus involved everywhere. Let's have more buildings in the cities. Let's have more trees on top of trees. Let's have more NPCs standing around. Let's do more of everything. Let's have more combat styles. Let's have more skills in the combat styles. Let's have more menus on the screen, more places for you to go, more things for you to do, more. And it's completely unfettered because there's no voting as far as I'm aware going on here. So it's just a game that's been going forever and ever and ever. And I know that probably some of the people who are watching this are veteran RuneScape 3 players, and it's hilarious to listen to me just sit here and meander about this, but to a lot of my audience, RuneScape 3 is something that we've never really experienced or never really done before because we just sort of thought that it wasn't going to be very good. But like the first time you walk into this wizard's tower, there is a girl right here arguing with this secretary. And if you talk to her, you can start a quest where she's not allowed into this wizard's tower because of something that she had done before. She had talked to the caged lesser demon, and that was like a sign of being a demon worshiper. So she was kicked out of the wizard's tower and wasn't allowed back in. So you have to help her try to save the wizard's tower, and it goes crazy, dude. You know, instead of walking up steps to go up here, you ascend this beam like that. And then up here are all of the wizards that you know. Let's see if we can find one that we actually know. Like Isidore is up here, Treyborn, Mizgog, all those wizards are up here, all the ones that you've known. And then you go up even further, and up top is going to be or on the next floor, not the top, because the top floor is like a roof. The Archmage is over here. So instead of being down in the basement, Surtador is up here because there's not really a basement. There's this like lower level to all this. It's a whole thing. I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. But Surtador is over here, and he has his own personality now that's kind of off-putting. Now that I've finished the quest, he's nicer to me, but originally he was a real douchebag to me. The graphical style is definitely more cartoony and has... Oh yeah, there's voice acting in it now. The graphical style is definitely more cartoony and has a certain aspect to it that isn't my favorite part of the game for sure. It definitely has this sort of vibrant, like Wizards 101 kind of look to it, especially walking around in the Wizards Tower. I get that vibe heavily, but you know, it's such an odd thing playing this game. One of the things that I've noticed that really stands out to me is that I feel like I should know how to play this game. My brain is having a really hard time compartmentalizing RuneScape 3 because I have played so much old school RuneScape over my life, and this game is set up in some ways similarly to old school RuneScape, but in other ways it's dramatically different. I have such a hard time remembering to go here for my home teleport. I have a hard time getting around all of these menus. I have a hard time navigating from city to city and place to place. And because of that, there's like this cognitive dissonance that happens that fatigues me in this game that I'm hoping goes away the longer that I play it. But it is a thing to note if you're trying to get into RuneScape 3 that you might have this kind of like friction between you and logging in regularly because it sort of feels like not brand new, but not like something you're familiar with all at the same time. Like an old friend that you haven't seen for a decade, and now that you've come back, they have all these new things going on in their life, and they have all these new ways of talking and all these new people that they know, and it just feels really kind of awkward to conversate with them in some ways. There's they're reminiscent of the person you used to be really good friends with, and you guys have all of these memories together, but then they start talking about things that you've never heard of before, and you get lost really quickly because it's hard to keep up with all these new faces and characters that they're bringing up throughout their adventures that they've been on. And that's like the way that I would describe RuneScape 3, is that it feels like an old friend who has matured in ways, and maybe it's not exactly the way that if I could have picked for them to mature that they would have matured, but it was their choice along the way, and I kind of respect what they've done. There is just so much gameplay to be had here, and I'm really excited to continue my adventure into RuneScape 3 and see what else is going on. I have only scratched the absolute surface of it, but I would recommend that if you've never played RuneScape 3 before, or if you gave it a chance a long time ago, but you only played for a couple of hours, to come back and try it out for quite some time now. That RuneScape 3 is definitely a game that is worth the effort to try to get into, because it's RuneScape. And if you love RuneScape and you haven't ever played this, then you're kind of missing out on what this game could be. And I might feel differently when I'm 1,000 hours into RuneScape 3, but currently I'm having a really good time with it. And I always say that, like, if I can get 1,000 hours out of a video game, it kind of doesn't matter how I feel about it at the end of that 1,000 hours. I obviously had enough fun to stick with it for a while, and that's really all I'm looking for. So if you guys haven't played RuneScape 3, I suggest getting into it and seeing what it's like. And if you have, please let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. Try to keep away from the idea of, like, well, you know, like microtransactions, because we need the microtransactions to support everything else, and you don't have to play with them, and that's a choice that you make, you know? So let me know your honest thoughts about it. Let me know if there's things that I'm missing in this game that make it a worse experience than what I'm sort of feeling like it is currently. And besides that, guys, be safe out there, have a good one, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye!